Her words froze the lively Christmas Eve dinner table in an instant. Clink. A dry, hollow sound echoed. Across from me, my father, Jorge, dropped the knife he was clenching onto his plate. My hand, with a piece of pumpkin pie on the fork, stopped halfway to my mouth and I slowly looked up. My grandmother, Dona Dorita's, gaze pierced through me and landed on my sister Valeria, who was rigid beside me, and then on our parents. Having just returned from abroad after several years away, my grandmother looked much stricter than before, wrapped in an aura that didn't allow anyone to approach her lightly. "Grandma, what did you just say?" My voice trembled. Those words sounded too unreal for someone like me, who was barely scraping by to afford even today's meal. "Didn't you hear me, Amanda? I'm talking about the vacation house by the lake. The house I bought for you 3 years ago, for your future." Her voice was calm, but underneath it, I could feel something like boiling magma. "Grandma, couldn't there be some mistake?" I gathered all my courage to speak. My heart was pounding out of my chest. "I don't own any house, not a vacation house, not even my own apartment. I basically have nowhere to live at the moment. I was kicked out of my apartment last month and I've been staying at friends' houses ever since." "What?" My grandmother's eyebrow twitched ever so slightly. I knew something was wrong. "As soon as I got back, I went to check on the place to surprise you. You weren't there. Instead, an elderly couple I had never seen before opened the door. They said they were the parents of Valeria's husband, Kevin. Valeria, would you care to explain what's going on?" Out of the corner of my eye, I saw my sister's hand tremble as she held her wine glass. "Valeria." I turned to look at her. Her eyes darted back and forth. She was breathing quickly and shallowly. "Grandma!" Valeria cried out, almost screeching. That must be some kind of mix-up. Maybe you got the address wrong. There are a lot of similar-looking houses around there and you just got back. You must be very tired." "That's right, Mom." My mother, Sandra, chimed in immediately. Beads of sweat dotted her forehead. "It's the jet lag. Your memories are all jumbled up. Come on now. The turkey is getting cold. Be quiet." My grandmother's shout fell upon my mother's words like a physical blow. Despite her age, her voice was so powerful that everyone at the table flinched. My mind is not failing me yet. The address, the exterior, it was the exact house whose contract I signed. My grandmother then reached into her handbag, pulled out a photograph, and slid it across the table. "This is what Kevin's parents told me. They are living in that house. We're staying in this house that belongs to our son's wife, Valeria." The instant those words fell, the color drained completely from Valeria's face. In the photo there was a beautiful mansion by the lake and standing in front of it, smiling for the camera, were Valeria, her husband Kevin, and his parents. "Would you care to explain this photo?" Faced with irrefutable proof, the air in the room grew thick and heavy. I stared at the picture, doubting my own eyes. It was the same place Valeria had shown off on social media with the caption, "My new vacation home," back when I was breaking my back working 3 part-time jobs. That was my house. What was happening? I stood up. "Mom, Dad, what does this mean? Grandma bought me a house. So why am I living like I'm homeless?" At my question, my father looked away uncomfortably. Amanda, it's complicated. It's Christmas Eve. Talking about money at a family dinner isn't exactly appropriate, is it? We can sit down in my office tomorrow and discuss it properly." My grandmother cut him off coldly. "No, we're going to clear this all up right here, right now. Amanda, you truly don't know anything, do you? About the 20 million peso vacation house I bought for you 3 years ago, and how they've been using it. 20 million pesos. The room spun around me. My bank account balance when I checked it this morning was 250 pesos. Working 3 jobs, sacrificing sleep, only to see it all disappear into student loan payments and living expenses. 20 million pesos was a figure I couldn't even fathom. I don't know anything. I've never seen a vacation house, and not once was I ever told that someone bought one for me." Hearing me, my grandmother's expression softened slightly. A flicker of pity crossed her face but vanished just as quickly, replaced by a hard stare as she turned to my parents. "Jorge, Sandra, you told me this, didn't you? That Amanda was mentally unstable and incapable of managing a large sum of money. That until she became independent, you would act as her guardians and manage the vacation house on her behalf." What? I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Hold on, Mom, Dad. When exactly have I ever been mentally unstable? I graduated with top honors and I've worked diligently ever since. I have never caused you a single problem. Amanda, calm down, my mother said in a low voice. There was no concern in her eyes, only a warning. You're getting agitated now. See, this is exactly what I mean by unstable. Don't you dare. I shot up from my seat. The chair clattered to the floor behind me. I am perfectly fine. You are the ones who are sick. When I couldn't pay my rent, you told me I wasn't trying hard enough and that I should be independent, didn't you? And yet, behind my back, you handed a house in my name over to Valeria. Amanda, how dare you speak to your parents like that? My father shouted, slamming his fist on the table. We did it for your own good. You don't have the ability to manage assets, so we entrusted it to Valeria. For my own good. The absurdity of it all left me so numb I couldn't even cry. Oh, just shut up, Valeria shrieked. A plain, boring woman like you doesn't deserve such a beautiful house. We were just putting it to good use. You should be thanking us. Valeria. You. My vision blurred with frustration. My whole body was trembling with rage. This is family. Is this what people bound by blood do to each other? That's enough. My grandmother's voice cut through the shouting. She rose slowly, leaning on her cane, and walked over to me. Then she placed her hand gently on my trembling shoulder. Amanda is right. All of you are rotten. Rotten to the core. Mom, that's too much, my father said, his face contorted. We did everything for the good of the family. My grandmother looked down on him coldly. There is no family here, only hyenas who fed on their granddaughter's property. Tonight, everything will be settled. She pulled a phone from her pocket and hit a speed dial number. Please come in. A pause. Yes, now. The front door opened, letting in a gust of cold night air along with a man. It was Mr. Valdez, my grandmother's personal lawyer. He was carrying a thick briefcase. Mrs. Hernandez, I've brought all the documents as you instructed, Mr. Valdez said in a professional tone, placing a heavy bundle of papers on the table. What is all that? My father staggered back a step. Jorge, Sandra, and Valeria, my grandmother declared. I will now go over every fraudulent act you have committed, one sheet at a time. Don't even think about escaping. I wiped away my tears and lifted my head. The warmth of my grandmother's hand gave me strength. This was it. This was not the time to cry. I had a duty to make them face the consequences they deserved. A small laugh of mine echoed in the room. I stood up slowly, shedding the mask of the scared victim I had worn until now. Pretending to dry my tears with a napkin, I looked at my family with cold, unforgiving eyes. Enough with the act, Grandma. Yes, of course, Amanda. I've had a most enjoyable time, my grandmother replied, planting herself firmly by my side, her cane thudding on the floor. My father, mother, and Valeria were struck dumb by our sudden transformation. Amanda, why are you laughing? My mother asked, her voice trembling. You don't see it? Don't you realize we played you? I said coldly. I continued mercilessly. A week ago, Grandma contacted me, not through you but through my aunt. She told me, it seems the family has been intercepting my letters and deliberately isolating you. From that moment we knew everything. And that's why we set the stage for tonight, this supposed Christmas Eve dinner. We waited for the moment you would let your guard down and confess to your crimes with your own mouths. What? You set us up. My father turned pale and tried to stand up. Sit down. A single word from my grandmother pinned him to his chair. This isn't over. In fact, it's just beginning. My grandmother looked at the lawyer. Mr. Valdez, please, let's start with the forged gift agreement. The handwriting analysis is complete. Mr. Valdez slid a document to the center of the table. This is a certificate from the Public Property Registry. This property, the lakefront estate, was originally purchased by Mrs. Hernandez in the name of Amanda Hernandez. However, the currently registered owner is Valeria Hernandez, her younger sister. The transfer date is October 15th, 3 years ago. The recorded price was 1 peso as a gift. 1 peso. That was the price of my life. I stared at the date. October 3 years ago. Exactly when I graduated and began to drown in student loan payments and living expenses. The moment my life went off the rails. I always thought something was wrong, I said quietly. I graduated with top honors. I had recommendation letters from my professors and made it to the final interviews at several large corporations. And yet, somehow, they all rejected me without explanation. I fixed my gaze on my father. He looked away. What are you talking about? He tried to play dumb. Connection logs don't lie, Dad. The emails were sent from this house, and the timestamps match the hours you were in your office. You pushed me into unemployment on purpose, didn't you? Because if I became independent, you couldn't continue committing fraud using my name. No, it was for your own good. And you, Mom, I said, turning to her. I finally understand why, no matter how hard I worked, I could never save any money, and why I was always rejected for credit card applications. Mr. Valdez pulled out a stack of bank statements. This is the account Amanda used to pay her student loan. She deposited money every month from her part-time jobs. However, the funds were automatically redirected, not to the loan entity, but to a hidden account in the name of Sandra Hernandez. My mother gasped. And yet, Mom, you kept telling me I wasn't trying hard enough, that I should be more like Valeria. Because of you, I was reported as delinquent to the credit bureau. I couldn't even rent a decent apartment. You destroyed my credit history. You forced me to work 3 jobs and still live in fear of ending up on the street. My mother covered her mouth with her trembling hands. My poverty wasn't bad luck. It wasn't a lack of effort. It was a cage, carefully and deliberately built by my own parents. And you, Valeria? I turned to my sister. She glared back at me as if she were the victim. Kevin's parents are living in the vacation house, aren't they? So what if they are? Valeria replied, lifting her chin. Kevin's mom and dad retired and wanted a quiet place to live, so I let them stay there. What's wrong with that? It's better than leaving the house empty. You let them stay? I raised an eyebrow. For free. Of course they're family. Don't lie. I gave a slight nod to Mr. Valdez. Without a word, he produced the next document. These are deposit records to a bank account in the name of Valeria Hernandez, Mr. Valdez read calmly. On the 1st of every month, 25,000 pesos are transferred from Kevin's parents' account. The transaction description is rent. My grandmother spoke first. Valeria. So not only did you steal Amanda's house, but you also used it to collect rent from your in-laws. No, that's not it, Valeria shrieked. That was a maintenance fee. It's a huge house. It costs money to maintain it. Besides, Kevin's parents have money. 25,000 pesos a month is nothing to them. That's not the point, I said, my voice low but firm. You took my house without permission and made 25,000 pesos a month from it. Meanwhile, I, the rightful owner, could barely afford food for the next day. Did you know that? Valeria's eyes shifted away. Amanda, listen. My father leaned forward, trying to intervene. Yes, maybe the way we did it was a bit harsh, but look at the result. The house is well maintained, and Valeria's in-laws are happy. Isn't it much better for the family as a whole than to let Amanda live there alone? We can always give Amanda some money later. A settlement, right? Compensation. And we can put this matter to rest. Compensation, my grandmother repeated quietly. The stem of the wine glass in her hand creaked ominously. When my granddaughter was on the verge of sleeping on the street, you were living in luxury off her property, and now you think you can fix it with some compensation. But Mom, Amanda is still young. Hardship builds character. No, be quiet. My grandmother's roar echoed through the room. I wrote to Amanda every month. I asked her, how is the house? Are you having any trouble? But I never received a single reply. Instead, Jorge would tell me, Amanda is so unstable she can't even write a thank you note. I shook my head. Not a single letter ever reached me. Of course not, my grandmother said coldly, turning to my parents. Every letter I sent was addressed to this house. You claimed Amanda was unstable and said you would hold them for her, and you never gave me her real address. You crushed my letters and you also cut off all of Amanda's contact with me, didn't you? It's just that, my mother cried. You were so busy working abroad. The reason my grandmother and I couldn't stay in touch was no longer a mystery. The physical distance and the malicious wall my parents had built between us. Everything finally clicked into place, revealing the ugliness of what they had done. Enough with the excuses, I said, taking a deep breath and signaling to Mr. Valdez. Let's confirm the facts from a legal standpoint. Mr. Valdez displayed the supposed transfer agreement Valeria was using as the basis for her ownership claim on his tablet. Ms. Hernandez, you stated earlier that this document represents a legitimate transfer from Amanda 3 years ago. Correct. Yes, just look at the date. Valeria shouted, drenched in sweat. Indeed, it says so here. We'll address the handwriting in a moment, but first, we conducted a digital forensic analysis of the paper itself. He pressed a button, and a magnified image of the document appeared. Beneath the paper fibers, a pattern of tiny, imperceptible dots emerged. This is a printer identification code. Many color laser printers embed microscopic yellow dots that record the printer's serial number and the date and time of printing. What? Valeria's mouth fell open. After analyzing these dots, we determined that this document was printed exactly 6 months ago. How odd, I said with a cold smile. Why would a contract supposedly signed 3 years ago be on paper printed only 6 months ago? Then I spoke slowly and clearly. In other words, this document was fabricated 6 months ago. I looked at my father, my mother, and finally Valeria. And I can think of exactly why you suddenly needed to forge it 6 months ago. My father's face turned ashen. 6 months ago, Grandma contacted you and said, "My work is finally stabilizing. I might be coming home soon." Didn't she? I continued. You panicked. Until then, you had been illegally occupying Amanda's house and treating it as Valeria's, with nothing more than verbal promises. But as soon as Grandma came back and checked the property records, your lies would be exposed. So you rushed to forge documents to cover yourselves legally. That's not. But if you had asked me to sign it, I would have found you out. So Valeria copied my handwriting and forged the signature, backdating it 3 years, right? My father grabbed his head and groaned. I had hit the nail on the head. For 3 years they did as they pleased, confident that my grandmother wouldn't return. But as soon as they learned she might, they panicked and scrambled to fabricate evidence. That panic led to their fatal mistake. Mr. Valdez continued mercilessly. According to the handwriting analysis, this signature matches the handwriting of Ms. Valeria Hernandez with a 99% probability. This constitutes forgery of a private document and use of a false document. Furthermore, Mrs. Hernandez posed as Amanda's legal representative and withdrew 20 million pesos from an account in Amanda's name, under the pretext of maintenance costs for the vacation house. That constitutes fraud and embezzlement. Fraud. Valeria began to tremble uncontrollably. Prison? This can't be real. Dad, say something. You were the one who said, as long as we backdate it, it'll be fine. Idiot. Shut your mouth, my father yelled. But it was too late. The prosecutor's office has already been notified, Mr. Valdez said calmly. Ms. Hernandez, a criminal complaint will be filed against you immediately. No, 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 no. Valeria grabbed her head and burst into tears. My dad told me to do it. He said Amanda is dumb, that she'd never figure it out. He told me to just copy her signature. I just did what I was told. What, Valeria, are you selling out your own father? My father roared. But it's true. Mom said so too. She laughed and said Amanda would never be able to pay off her student loan anyway, so we might as well use the money. Valeria, don't say another word, my mother screamed, lunging toward her. It was a hideous scene. The same people who just a moment ago were talking about family ties and love were now slinging desperate accusations, trying to shift the blame onto each other. My grandmother watched the spectacle with cold eyes and spoke in a low voice. That's enough. At her command, the shouting stopped dead. I've seen enough of your ugliness. Do not tarnish this table any further. She turned to Mr. Valdez. Counselor, the amendment to my will is ready, correct? Yes, Mrs. Hernandez, Mr. Valdez replied, pulling out a new set of documents. This is the most recent last will and testament. It completely revokes the inheritance rights of Jorge Hernandez, Sandra Hernandez, and Valeria Hernandez, as well as those of their spouses, and designates Amanda Hernandez as the sole heir to the entire estate. The entire estate? My parents cried out in unison. Mom, please wait, anything but that. We're sorry. We'll reflect on our actions, please. Any trace of pride was gone, replaced by a desperate clinging to money. My mother mimicked him. I'm sorry, Mom. I had a moment of weakness. I won't do it again. Please reconsider. From above, my grandmother replied in a voice of ice. If you want to apologize, do it to Amanda. She is the victim, not me. My parents and Valeria's eyes swiveled to me at once, pleading, fawning, and underneath it all, that same old assumption. We're family, so she'll forgive us. I raised my wine glass slowly and took a sip. Then I smiled sweetly. No, I have no mercy. The only thing I have for you is an invoice. I accepted the final document from Mr. Valdez. 40 million pesos, my father screamed. There's no way we have that kind of money. Then sell what you do have, I said coolly. Your house, your cars, your jewelry, and that house where Kevin's parents are living. They will be evicted immediately. No. Valeria collapsed to the floor. Evict Kevin's mom and dad? If I do that, he'll divorce me. That's not my problem. That's your problem, Valeria. I cut her off without emotion. When I lost my job and had my credit history destroyed, did you care about me? No. You laughed at me. Now it's your turn to taste that same misery. Just then there was a sharp knock on the dining room door, and 2 agents from the prosecutor's office entered, flashing their badges. Valeria Hernandez, you'll need to come with us to the station. No. Help me. I didn't do anything wrong. Valeria shrieked as she was led away. Then my parents, still in shock, were also handcuffed. Amanda, I'm sorry, Amanda, my mother sobbed, looking at me through her tears. I was wrong. Please drop the charges. Goodbye, Mom, I said, not looking away. Count the wrinkles on your face in prison. You'll have plenty of time. As the sirens faded into the distance, only my grandmother, Mr. Valdez, and I were left in the vast dining room. I let out a long sigh. It wasn't weariness. It was relief, as if a curse had finally been lifted. It's over, Grandma. Yes, it's over, she said softly, pulling me into a hug. No, actually, that's not quite right. This is where it begins. Your real life. A year has passed since that night. I am now standing on the wooden terrace of the lakefront estate. This place is truly mine. Valeria, her husband, and his parents were forcibly evicted within 72 hours of that night. Kevin's parents claimed they were led to believe the house belonged to their daughter-in-law, and that they were victims too. However, because they lived there knowing the rent was suspiciously low and that the contract was flawed, they were questioned as potential accomplices. Valeria was sentenced to 3 years in prison, and is currently incarcerated. She divorced Kevin and was left completely bankrupt by the compensation payments and legal fees. My parents lost all social credibility, and the extended family cut them off completely. My father's company went bankrupt, and I heard they are now barely getting by in a small apartment, but I don't even have their contact information, nor do I want it. As for me, I started a new business in this quiet home. Online consulting, financial planning, and victim advocacy. When I began sharing my own harrowing experiences, the response was overwhelming. Before I knew it, my schedule was booked months in advance, and my income grew dozens of times over what I earned working 3 jobs. I no longer depend on anyone. I have achieved complete financial independence. On weekends, my grandmother comes to stay, and we sit by the fireplace talking and laughing, as if we are reclaiming the 3 years that were stolen from us. One day, looking out calmly at the lake, she said, "You didn't just take back the future that was stolen from you. With integrity and courage, you've built an even brighter one. This is my home. The place I protect, the place I love." "I'm happy, Grandma," I said from the bottom of my heart.